In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounces U.S. plans to expropriate the territory of the Guayana Esequiba. In the United Nations, the WHO warns the Israeli siege on the Gaza Strip is on the verge of collapse. In Türkiye, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan refused to recognize the Palestinian social movement Hamas as a terrorist organization despite pressure from Western powers on the issue. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. President Nicolás Maduro denounces U.S. plans to expropriate Guayana Esequiba territory from Venezuela. The president made a call for national unity for the defense of the integrity and sovereignty of the country. In this sense, he announced the activation of the governmental plans in the Venezuela territory of El Esequibo and condemned the action of the Venezuelan right wing that attempt against the territorial sovereignty of the country. The head of the state revalidated in a message addressed to the White House that the Geneva Agreement is the only valid instrument for the resolution of the territorial controversy over the Guayana Esequiba, whose validity was approved by the Venezuelan people in the consultative referendum with 98.26% of the votes, according to the second bulletin presented by the National Electoral Council.
This land was not given to us by the U.S. Empire. On the contrary, the U.S. Empire that remains on the British Empire and the right wing are trying to take our land away from us. Look at you. The U.S. Secretary of State, Blinken, came out to make a speech against Venezuela to support the arbitration award of 1899 that they imposed with the British Empire. That is the U.S. government biased against Venezuela. Pay attention.
In addition, Maduro called on the people to remain vigilant in the defense of the Esequibo, while denouncing certain actors in the country who seek to favor the interests of ExxonMobil, Guyana, and the United States.
And to repudiate those who lend themselves to defend the interests of ExxonMobil, Guyana, and the Gringo Empire. They make a plan with the Gringo Empire to try to confuse the people of Venezuela and put in a little money. Conspire, conspire. Ask for money from the Gringos. Conspire, conspire. In the greatest impunity. And when the prosecutor's office comes and the justice system acts, they come out to whine, to cry, and to say that they are persecuted. Not persecuted. Traitors to the homeland is what they are when the people of Venezuela have risen up in one voice to rescue their land, their legitimate rights, to stop the abuse of ExxonMobil that intends to take our seas. The traitors to the homeland financed by ExxonMobil come out. I call the people to combat. I call the people to the highest moral, to the highest union, to the public denunciation. I call our people.
In this context, the president announced a plan to build houses in Guayana Esequiba through the social platform, the Great Housing Mission of Venezuela.
I approved a project presented to me immediately by the Ministry of People's Power, which is to proceed with the construction of 120 new homes in San Martín de Turumban, on the banks of the Coyuni River, for the people of the Esequibo, Venezuela. The dignified housing, the Great Venezuelan Housing Mission arrives in Guayana Esequiba, Venezuelan state, 120 homes to honor, accompany, and embrace our communities.
Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, pointed out that the stocks of the American oil company ExxonMobil are going down on the New Year's stock exchange. In her account on X, formerly Twitter, the Venezuelan representative published a video of the variations that the company has had in the market. Since Venezuela held a consultative referendum Esequibo, the Venezuelan government has taken several political, economic, and military measures to respond to the people's mandate regarding the territory under claim. These measures include the creation of PDVSA Esequibo and CVG Esequibo to develop oil and mining in the area. It was also ordered the creation of the Esequibo Integral Defense Zone with its respective areas of integral development. Also on Thursday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, Ivan Gil, met with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and President pro tempore of CELAC, Raf Gonsalves. The Venezuelan minister said on his X account that the objective of the meeting was to discuss the results of the consultative referendum held on December 3rd in defense of the territory of the Guayana Esequiba, which remains in dispute with the government of Guyana. According to the top diplomat in the meeting, Venezuela reaffirmed its commitment to peace and direct diplomatic dialogue with the Guyanese authorities to resolve the controversy without interference for foreign affairs powers. In Mexico, authorities announced border guard policy for forcing migrants to stay in camps in the middle of the desert to avoid deportation. Hundreds of migrants attempting to cross over the United States every day are taken to these camps and condemned to remain there. Once in the open-air camps, migrants have no access to food or water, while some are left to sleep in open fields in the desert plagued by scorpions and snakes. Erica Piñeiro, executive director of the NGO, noted that the Border Patrol told them that from now on, this is the new normality.
So these are places where the Border Patrol will bring immigrants or ask them to stay. Immigrants are told that they will be deported unless they stay in these camps, yet the Border Patrol does not provide them with food, water, shelter, or medical care.
The Interdepartmental Transfer of Uruguay doesn't strike for 24 hours on Friday due to the labor disputes. The action was led by the National Union of Transport Workers, which took action following the dismissal of at least 4 as a member at the Three Crosses terminal. The workers claimed that the situation is as part of act of union persecution because the day before they had traveled to vote for the pre-agreement of the wage council. One representative of the National Union of Transport Workers detailed that during the month of March, the company also fired 11 workers for the same union harassment. The work stoppage comes on the date of increased passenger traffic to and from the interior of the country due to the weekend and the proximity of the Christmas holidays. In Uruguay, at least 346 cases of sexual exploitation of minors and adolescents were reported in 2023, which according to the statistics represents a decrease in recent years. Under the slogan Challenger for the Total Protection of Children and Adolescents Against Sexual Exploitation, public and civil society organizations in Uruguay announced the number of cases of sexual exploitation of minors and adolescents. Most of the reported cases were registered in the capital city of Montevideo and in the departments of Maldonado, Canelones, and Colonia of the South American country. According to the authorities, most of the victims were girls and adolescents in the family environment, and in most of the cases reported, few of the perpetrators were brought to justice. Let's take a short break. But remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, dates, and more. Our story is coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Palestinian media reported on Friday that at least 350 Palestinians were killed in the last 24 hours in Gaza, as shown in the residential areas processes. The health ministry confirmed that dozens of wounded continue to arrive at Al-Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, victims of the airstrikes by the Israeli occupation forces. In this sense, local authorities stressed that most of the 450 airstrikes reported by the Saudi forces targeted residential areas, resulting in an increasing number of civilian casualties. In addition to this, in recent days, Israeli tanks have entered southern Gaza, despite the fact that almost 2 million residents of the north of the region have moved into the area to avoid being caught in the crossfire. The humanitarian crisis caused by the Israeli siege of the Gaza Strip are reached points where civilization and society are on the verge of collapse, and the World Health Organization warns as Palestinians resort to desperate measures to obtain basic necessities such as fuel and water.
The situation in Gaza is beyond belief, literally. The health system is on its knees. Gaza cannot afford to lose any more health facility, any more single ambulance, any more hospital. We're seeing what we're fearing, that the South will experience the same as the North. And with all rhetoric around what's going on in individual places in Gaza, we should not get ourselves distracted from the realities on the ground. This really describes some horrific scenarios of children and people actually begging and crying for water. We're at that level where the most normal and basic supplies are not available anymore.
The United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly approved 5 resolutions on Thursday in favor of the Palestinian cause, reflecting global solidarity and support for various aspects of the ongoing Palestinian struggle. The first resolution addresses assistance to Palestinian refugees. The second resolution focuses on the operation of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East. The third one relates to the property of Palestinian refugees and the revenue derived from them. The fourth resolution addresses Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem and the occupied Syrian Golan. The fifth and the last resolution concerns the activity of the Special Committee to investigate Israeli practices affecting the human rights of the Palestinian people and other Arabs of the occupied territories. On Thursday, the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas showed its approval to the implementation of Article 99 of the UN Charter proposed by the Secretary General Antonio Guterres over the situation in Gaza and Commonwealth countries to pressure the end of the Israeli aggression, a senior official stated to the press from Lebanon.
We welcome the position of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, to implement Article 99 of the United Nations Charter, which alerts the Security Council that what is happening in Gaza threatens international peace and security, and his demand to stop the occupation's massacres and stop its aggression, and we call on all countries to exert all pressure on the occupation.
The Lebanese Islamic resistance attacked several Israeli sites on the Lebanese border, leaving several losses to the Zionist army. According to the statement, the resistance detailed that on Thursday it attacked 8 times several sites occupied by the Zionist army. In addition, the Islamic resistance attacked a concentration of Israeli occupation soldiers near the site of Kal Alam at 3:30 local time. The actions are in support of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and in solidarity with the brave and honorable resistance. On Friday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan refused to recognize the Palestinian social movement Hamas as a terrorist organization despite pressure from Western powers on the issue. The Anadolu press agency pointed out that the Turkish leader affirmed that it is a Palestinian political movement and a party that won the elections, and on the other hand, he reiterated that despite the Western bloc declaring Hamas as a terrorist entity, his government does not recognize it in this way. In a sense, Erdogan accused Israel of state of terrorism, and the United States and allies of turning a blind eye to the crimes that the Israeli occupation army commits in Gaza. With the date of the Little Candles Day as a backdrop, dozens of Colombians expressed their solidarity with the Palestinian people under siege. Organizations and self-committed citizens gathered in Bogotá to join the obligation for the Palestinian people who are the target of the Israeli regime's aggression. They attendees lit candle and waved Palestinian flags as a sign of support and solidarity with the citizens under siege in Gaza. The attendees also pointed out that they seek to highlight the Palestinian struggle as a symbol of resistance. The celebration of the Little Candles Day is one of the most important holidays in Colombia. It is celebrated every December 7th, and the day marks the beginning of this Christmas festivity and lights up the streets of towns and cities throughout the country. On Candlelight Day, families light candles in front of their homes, place colored lanterns of decorations, and make wishes for the coming year.
On this night, in which a light is lit as a symbol of hope, we want to call on the streets for all the people to join in solidarity with the people of Palestine. For the children, so many thousands of children who have been killed, that the community feels that the flag of Palestine is a symbol of resistance. Then we want to sensitize all the people so that they become aware of what is happening in these people that has been seriously affected, and before a genocide that is happening before the eyes of the whole world.
We have a second show break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America, the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final show break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, more than 700 workers of the Washington Post newspaper went on strike on Thursday due to the 18-month stalemate in labor negotiations with the company. Demonstrators announced the unwillingness of the paper's general management to offer a fair contract to the workers and demanded a 4% annual raise over the next 3 years to meet the rising cost of living and inflation. The strike comes at a time when the newspaper is dealing with internal leadership turnover and its economic challenges that have shaken the industry. It is worth noting that this is the first workers' protest since 1975, when a general strike broke out that lasted more than 20 weeks. Meanwhile, unions affiliated with media also demonstrated in support of the strike, announcing the lack of a fair collective agreement for workers for more than a year and a half.
Hey everybody, Deanna Forster, Metro Washington Council President, and I'm standing here with our brother, our affiliate union, Executive Director, Seth. Yes. And we are out here in solidarity helping them fight for a fair contract.
Yep, my name is Seth Parks, Executive Director of the Washington Baltimore Middles Guild. We're here striking the post for 24 hours to send a strong message. We want a contract now. We've been bargaining for 18 months. They've been bargaining in bad faith. And we're trying to send a strong message. We have almost 700 bargaining unit members out here on strike to send a message of reporters, circulation drivers, commission sales, and we're going to send a message to make this thing happen and get a contract soon.
And listen to go.
On Thursday, Secretary General Antonio Guterres stated that transnational organized crime is a vicious threat to peace and it operates everywhere in all countries.
Often invisible but always insidious, transnational organized crime is a vicious threat to peace, security, and sustainable development wherever it operates. And it operates everywhere, in all countries, rich and poor, north and south, developed and developing. Meanwhile, cyberspace is a virtual El Dorado for criminals.
The activities of transnational organized crime take many forms, but the ramifications are the same: weakened governance, corruption and lawlessness, open violence, death and destruction. Illicit financial flows are not abstract figures. They amount to billions of missed development opportunities, lost livelihoods, and worsened poverty. On the African continent alone, more money is lost due to tax evasion, money laundering, and illicit financial flows than comes in through official development assistance.
Now we go to Türkiye, to Istanbul, the city that was once Constantinople, a submerged palace awaits us. A story of mythology and its modern retelling, and our correspondent in Türkiye, Yunus Soner, will take us to the subway and surreal.
Here we are in the center, the heart of the historical part of Istanbul, in front of a door that seems opaque, that seems insignificant, but hides one of the wonders of this city. The Turks call it the submerged palace. In Latin, it is called the Basilica Cistern. We feel a lot of humidity here because we are in a cistern, built in the year 532 during the Byzantine Empire, and it was a cistern to keep the water, to serve the water to the palace in front of it. With its 80,000 tons of water storage capacity, the Basilica cistern was the largest covered cistern in the city. It is a huge rectangular structure 140 meters long and 70 meters wide, occupying an area of approximately 10,000 square meters. One of the most interesting points in the Basilica cistern, or the submerged palace, is the statue of Medusa, the mythological figure. There are two statues that are turned upside down, and the legend says that this has been done on purpose to avoid the effect of the stare of the Medusa. And this story of the Medusa and her gaze is told today in the submerged palace, and we will see it now.
I was very excited when the project came up, and it impresses me every time I see it. It is the product of a year of hard work in difficult conditions. It is not a normal stage. The cistern is so wet, damp and depressed. The atmosphere is already wonderful. The music, the costumes, the dance. We even have a fragrance made for this performance. The result is fascinating and makes us very happy. We can describe the performance as a sustainable experience. The performance tells the story of Medusa with dances while offering a tour of the museum.
According to one of the mythological narratives, Medusa was a woman of radiant beauty who lived in the temple and served Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. Poseidon, god of the seas, was the husband of Athena. Poseidon was attracted to the beauty of Medusa. One day, Poseidon raped Medusa. Realizing the profanation, Athena punished Medusa, transforming her into a snake-haired creature. From then on, Medusa petrified anyone who looked at her.
A partir de entonces, Medusa petrificaba a quien miraba.
Medusa is the first victim of female aberration in mythology. If we interpret it spiritually, the awakening of all women and females in the world begins right now. Being punished by a woman for a crime she didn't commit can also be interpreted as a betrayal of the sisterhood. Tonight, Medusa responds to this betrayal and injustice with her scream. I think the message that comes out of the story is that women who have been aggrieved have to speak up and they have to scream.
In the following part of the story, Perseus cut off Medusa's head and defeated many enemies using his stare. When Perseus killed Medusa, Pegasus was born from her womb. Pegasus immediately took to flight, climbed the mountain of Olympus, and began to serve Zeus, father of Athena. Meanwhile, statues of Medusa in the submerged palace continue to abduct visitors.
Siguen abduciendo a los visitantes. Yunus Soner, TeleSUR, Istanbul.
And we have come to the end of this brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events. You can find these and many other studies on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Annette Rosabal. Thank you for watching.